Drunkards and Dragons, hankering for a nail, and a little series we call Room Design. Gonna get a little P, gonna get a little POV. We'll see the point of view, and I'll explain this room to you. I'm gonna use this LED so that you can see. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Room Design, and we are here to look at the mines of Llorkh, the town of Llorkh, along the Black Road. There's a place where the Frozen Army is mining for silver to supply the siege of Waterdeep. And onto these mines the heroes stride. Now, if you'll notice, a line of wagons, carts carrying rubble and various precious ores, is lined up to go through the gate. Up at the table here in the front, there is a clerk who checks the contents of each wagon with his ledger and marks their procedure or progress up toward town. Over here on the left, we have not turned on. Check this out. There's a little switch on the bottom. You hit the switch. Boom. Forge. A Llorkian Duragar smith working the forge. Now this forge, you'll notice the lever in the foreground. When that lever is pushed up, we'll open the lid on the forge and release a burst of 5d6 flames will shoot out, and then the lid will slam shut. For a later part of the story where they go back to the mines to confront a creature called the Umberholder. Over here we have an entrance to another mine. This is the main silver mine, and the gentleman standing out front is the human foreman, a captain of the Frozen Army. Moving back, we have another Duragar guard, and this large piece of stone sitting in a cart back here near where the heroes enter the board. Now this board went very interestingly. I had imagined that the characters would be able to go in disguise and talk their way past the clerk at the gate. Instead, they came up with a much more interesting plan. Up to the entrance to the main silver mine, while the main party gathered down here by this stone and used it as shelter. Milo, our wizard, cast a ward spell on this stone, so everyone gathered around it, and the arrows from the guards proceeded to bounce off the ward spell. Now there's a few missing characters here. We had some archers up top the gate who wound up fleeing for their lives. We pushed the cart up into the line of carts with our druid taking goat form, and before the deception could be completed, the gig was up. The foreman attacked. He eventually jumped down, entered the fray down here. A bunch of DPS was focused in on him, blasted him, and our only real formidable resistance was the forge master up here. We wound up frying him by opening the forge and then using the ward spell and splattering him up against the gate itself. The clerk ran for his life, was never seen again. And this was a classic example of a map that I basically set up as eye candy to give the players some fun role-playing and give them some more history about the town down below. But they made it a lot more interesting and turned it into a crazy battle, especially using this rolling stone as a piece of moving cover. Turned out to be pretty damn cool. Players have been in the Underdark for like 6 weeks. Cut them a break, will ya? Have a couple of rooms in the overworld that aren't just traps and horrors and giant creatures and multiple death mechanics all happening at the same time. Get them out into the overworld and just for a moment remember that the overworld is a far less violent place. Not only does this give the characters some rest, it also gives the Underdark this context. So if you're like me and you plan on, at some point, dropping the players back into the Underdark, you want them to dread that moment. Now you're not going to get that effect unless you go easy when you're in the surface world. So you may feel like you're nerfing your game to cater to tired players who've been battling every day for weeks. But in fact what you're doing is you're giving the Underdark that context it needs. Remember, that is the most hellish place in our world. Now, some of the planes can get kind of crazy. You can do the plane of chaos or the fire plane or something like that. It can get a little scary. But honestly, the Underdark has some kind of a unique, awesome fear flavor that you don't want your whole overworld to have. If everywhere they go there are hook horrors and gibbering mouthers and umber hulks and the whole, it's just this endless fucking trap mania. Even if you're just trying to walk down Main Street and buy a bow and arrow, your Underdark is not going to seem as horrible as it really is. So that was the minds of Llorkh. Now the players, after hanging out in town for a while, they wound up coming back to confront the Umber Holder, which at first seemed like an errand of dubious wisdom. But they wound up surviving it, and when they wound up back in town, the shit really hit the fan. Forward in time, because of rune design. I'll keep playing D&D like a badass, because that's all we do. And live in a strange, strange world of temporality. Scrambled scrambillion-ness of confusational time manipulation. So don't manipulate your time and don't get confusational. Playing D&D like a badass. Until then, I'm gonna moonwalk out. Peace.